Welcome to Shadows and Scandals, my loves. Here we dive headfirst into the messy, mysterious and downright scandalous corners of history. If you're into drama, intrigue and a little sprinkle of chaos from the past, then you're in the right place. Today we're peeling back the layers of one of the most infamous women in history. That's right, Anne Boleyn. Anne's story has captivated audiences for centuries, and it's no wonder why. She's been portrayed countless times in movies, TV series, and even novels. Think Natalie Dormer's cunning and seductive Anne in The Tudors, which is by far my favourite portrayal, and I'll tell you why. Dormer brought this brilliant mix of sharp intelligence, a bit of sass, and a whole lot of fire to the role. She made Anne feel relatable, like a real woman trying to navigate all of this drama. Plus, her chemistry with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who played Henry VIII, was just electric. They had this intense back and forth that just kept you glued to the screen. Then there's Genevieve Bujold's classic performance of Anne of a Thousand Days, a real old school take on Anne. And more recently, Jodie Turner-Smith gave us a bold and modern reimagining of Anne Boleyn. Her life, full of ambition, romance and betrayal, has made her a favourite for storytellers who can't resist all of the juicy drama. And honestly, Anne's story is like the ultimate historical soap opera. Alright, so Anne Boleyn, where do we even start? First off, the woman is a total enigma. Like, she's been gone nearly 500 years, but we're still obsessed with her. She was born around 1501, give or take a year. Nobody really bothered to jot it down properly. I mean, why would they? It's just little old Anne. Anne was the daughter of Sir Thomas Boleyn, a sharp diplomat, and Lady Elizabeth Howard, who came from a proper posh family. And I mean like proper posh, like had a dishwasher kind of posh. The Boleyns, bless them, were the original social climbers, doing everything they could to get in to the Tudor powerhouse. Anne didn't just hang about in the English countryside though. Oh no, she had the ultimate glow up abroad. She was sent off to the Netherlands and then to France. She learned all the fancy stuff, French, music, dancing, fashion, and probably how to throw shade in 3 different languages. I mean, who doesn't want to learn how to do that, right? When she came back to England, Anne was basically the queen of the Tudor court before she even had a crown. She was beautiful, clever, and turning heads everywhere she went. Let's dive deeper into her time in France though, because this was where Anne went from being a girl to becoming a woman who could take on kings. When Anne was about 12 or 13, she was sent to the Netherlands and served as a lady-in-waiting for the Archduchess Margaret of Austria. Margaret wasn't just some random noble woman, she was a real powerhouse. Anne learned diplomacy, court etiquette, and how to navigate the tricky waters of high society. Margaret even called her bright and willing, which, coming from her, was some seriously high praise, I'm not going to lie. After the Netherlands, Anne moved on to the French court, serving Queen Claude, the wife of King Francis I. And let me tell you, the French court was the place to be if you wanted to seriously level up your game. It wasn't just about frocks and feasts, it was a hot tub of culture, art and progressive ideas. Anne soaked it all up. She became fluent in French, she learned to dance with grace and developed a killer fashion sense. I mean, come on, have you seen some of the dresses that she wore? They were iconic. She also picked up the art of flirting and intrigue, which was practically a sport at the French court. Anne watched the powerful women around her and saw how they used charm, wit and intellect to influence the men in their lives. She learned that power wasn't always about shouting the loudest, it was about playing the game smartly. Anne also became interested in reformist ideas about religion. The French court was buzzing with new ways of thinking and Anne absorbed all of it. By the time she returned to England, she wasn't just the daughter of a country noble. She was this polished, cosmopolitan woman that knew how to command a room and make people listen. Honestly, if there was a Tudor version of how to win friends and influence people, Anne could have written it. Wait, it gets so much better. So Anne's sister, Mary Boleyn, had already caught naughty King Henry VIII's wandering eye, and let's just say they kept company. I'm thinking the whole Netflix and chill vibe. Maybe Henry played the lute while Mary touched his flute. Awkward, right? But Anne wasn't about to be just another notch in Henry's royal bedpost. Oh, no, no. She was like, if you want me, you better bring a ring. And while you're at it, I'll take a crown too. What a legend. This girl has got some serious goals. Now, here's the tea on Henry. The man was obsessed with having a son. His wife, Catherine of Aragon, had given him a daughter, Mary, but no boys to carry on the Tudor name. So when Henry clocked Anne, she played it cool and flipped the script. Instead of becoming his mistress, she made him chase her for literal years. I mean, talk about commitment. She was out for the long game here. While Henry was doing all this chasing, they were exchanging love letters, like proper mushy, loved up stuff. And let me tell you, these letters were juicy. They're not your average, hey, how's it going type notes. Henry was absolutely gone for Anne, calling her his mistress in this romantic way, even throwing in a little bit of French that I'm probably going to butcher, but ma maîtresse et amie, which basically means my mistress and friend. Cute, right? Although, do you really want to be called the friend? Do we? I mean, I'd be kind of pissed if someone that was interested in me was calling me his friend. But anyway, I digress. Anne, she wasn't exactly scribbling back with hearts and kisses. Her replies were more measured. She knew how to keep him on the hook without giving too much away. She even sent one of his love tokens back, like, not today, mate. Honestly, the girl invented playing hard to get. These letters give us such a good peek into the dynamic, and Anne was sharp as a tack and totally had Henry wrapped around her little finger. Meanwhile, Henry, bless him, he was falling hard, and I mean hard. By 1526, Henry was head over heels, but there was one tiny problem. He was still married. Divorce wasn't a thing back then, and the Pope was like, nah mate, you're staying hitched to Catherine, you made your bed, you've got to lay in it. But Henry being Henry wasn't about to take no for an answer. This is where it gets really wild. He broke away from the Catholic Church, started the Church of England, and made himself top dog of everything. And all because he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn. The audacity of this man. I mean, come on. Fast forward to 1533, Anne and Henry secretly tied the knot and she's crowned queen. And for a hot minute, everything's coming up Anne. She gives birth to a daughter, Elizabeth. Yeah, that Elizabeth, as in Elizabeth I, the queen who absolutely slayed her reign for 45 years. But there's one stag. Still no sons. And Henry, his patience wasn't exactly strong suit. His love for Anne kind of cooled off quicker than a cup of tea left on the side. Her enemies at court started circling like vultures. Now here's where it gets bonkers. One of the most out there rumours about Anne is that she was a witch. Seriously, people at court whispered that she used dark magic to reel Henry in. Because that's the only way that a man's going to be interested in a woman, because she's a witch. Really? Most men are interested in anything that's got a pair of boobs and a pulse. Anyway, they pointed to her quick wit and confidence, qualities that apparently screamed witch. So ladies, if this was today, oh, we would be screwed. Oh, and she had a mole on her neck and an extra nail on one finger. So to us, that's kind of quirky. To them, total witch vibes. People even claimed that she carried a book of spells or dabbled in sorcery, which is completely untrue. It was just another way to discredit her. The fact is, Anne wasn't a witch. She was just clever, bold, and way ahead of her time. But in Tudor England, being too clever for your own good was almost as dangerous as being an actual witch. And then there were accusations of incest. Brace yourselves for this one, because this is grim. Anne was accused of having an inappropriate relationship with her own brother, George Boleyn. Now let's be clear, there's no evidence whatsoever that this happened. None. Zilch. But Anne's enemies, including Thomas Cromwell, cooked up this scandalous story to make her downfall as dramatic and shameful as possible. They claimed that Anne and George conspired together because she was so desperate to produce a male heir by any means necessary. It's outrageous and completely fabricated, but the damage was already done. George, bless him, was arrested and executed alongside Anne. The sheer cruelty of it all is enough to make your blood boil. Let's not forget about the treason accusations. Treason back then wasn't just plotting against the king, it could be anything that made the monarch look bad. Anne was accused of having affairs with multiple men, including a musician named Mark Smeaton. Poor Mark was probably tortured into confessing something that he didn't do. The accusations were absurd, but in Henry's eyes, they were convenient. He wanted Anne gone, and this was the easiest way to get rid of her. Anne wasn't just Henry's queen, she was a huge influence on his religious policies. She was into reformist ideas and introduced Henry to radical thinkers like William Tyndale, who translated the Bible into English. And that was massive because back then the church controlled who got to read the Bible and what it said. Anne's push for reform helped shape the English Reformation, even if she didn't know how big her impact would be. But let's get back to the drama. By 1536, Anne's enemies were ready to take her down. They accused her of adultery, incest, and treason. They literally threw the kitchen sink at her. Was there any real evidence? Absolutely not. But Henry was done and already eyeing up Jane Seymour. So Anne was arrested, put on trial, and as we all know, it didn't end well. On May 19th, 1536, she was executed at the Tower of London. Her last words were, "Good Christian people, I come hither to die, for according to the law and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it. I come hither to accuse no man, nor speak anything of that whereof I am accused and condemned to die. But I pray for God, save the king, and send him long to reign over you. For a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never. And to me he was ever a good and gentle and sovereign lord. And if any person will meddle of my cause, I require them to judge the best. And thus I take my leave of the world and of you all, and I heartily desire you all to pray for me." Graceful and defined, even in the face of such injustice. Honestly, what a way to go. But here's the thing, Anne's story didn't actually end with her death. Her daughter Elizabeth went on to become one of England's greatest monarchs. Anne's legacy is complicated, but it's powerful. She was a woman who dared to dream big, break the rules, and play the game her way. Sure, it didn't end well for her, but her influence, unforgettable. The woman was iconic, and I won't let anyone tell me any different. So what can we learn from Anne Boleyn? Maybe it's that being ambitious and clever can be a double-edged sword, or maybe it's that sometimes a little bit of extra can change the course of history. Either way, Anne's story is one for the ages. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with me today to chat about the wild world of Anne Boleyn. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who should we dive into next? Until then, stay curious, stay fabulous, and I'll see you soon. Bye, my loves.